I always thought the worst betrayal would come from a stranger, maybe a coworker or some woman you barely know sliding into your husband's messages. But I never imagined the knife would come from someone who once braided my hair, who knew my childhood fears, who held my hand the night I had my first breakup. My name is Lila, and what I'm about to share happened just 2 months before I gave birth to my first child. I was 7 months pregnant, exhausted, swollen, and full of that hopeful, nervous energy every first-time mom gets. My husband Josh had been incredible, bringing me weird food cravings at midnight, rubbing my back when I cried for no reason, even talking to my belly like the baby could already hear him. And my sister Emily had been distant. That's the part I can't get out of my head. She used to call me every other day. We grew up like twins even though she's 2 years younger. But after I got pregnant, it's like she backed off, missed 2 doctor appointments she promised to attend, skipped our lunch dates, barely texted back. I thought maybe she was jealous. Emily's never had a serious relationship that lasted, and I figured maybe it just hurt to see me in this happy little bubble. So I gave her space. But deep down, something felt off. I brushed it aside until the baby shower. That day was supposed to be filled with pink cupcakes and silly games and people guessing baby names. My mom hosted it at her house, and nearly everyone I loved was there except Emily, who showed up an hour late with sunglasses on indoors and some vague excuse about traffic. I remember hugging her and feeling nothing. Like she wasn't really there. Like she was just floating above the room. But again, I ignored it. Maybe she was going through something. Maybe she just needed this day to not be about her. So I smiled, sat on the pastel couch, with my bump resting on a pillow, and opened gift after gift. Little onesies, diapers, swaddles, cards that said, "You're going to be a great mom." And then I got to Emily's. It was wrapped in plain brown paper, no bow, no glitter. I remember saying, "Wow, you really went minimalist," and everyone laughed, except her. She just stood there, arms crossed, eyes locked on me like she was daring me to open it, so I did. Inside was a white envelope. No card, just a folded sonogram photo. I was confused at first, like, wait, did she get this mixed up? But then I looked closer. The date on the scan was about a month earlier. The name printed in tiny black letters at the top left corner read, "Patient, Emily Carter." And then, right underneath in the partner-parent field, was my husband's name, Joshua Taylor. I didn't breathe. I didn't speak. I just stared at that tiny, grainy image of a baby that wasn't mine. The room slowly quieted. My mom asked what was wrong. I couldn't answer. My fingers were shaking so badly I dropped the photo. Emily stepped forward, picked it up, and set it on the coffee table like it was nothing more than a Hallmark card. "I figured you should know before the baby comes," she said, her voice flat, like she was telling me the weather forecast. I couldn't process it. Couldn't understand. Josh? My husband Josh? The man who spent every night curled up beside me, reading baby books and kissing stretch marks like they were something to celebrate? My sister? The one who toasted our engagement and cried when I said I was pregnant? My mom started yelling. My best friend gasped and pulled me away. People stood frozen, mouths open. And Joshy wasn't even there. He was supposed to come later to help clean up. Emily didn't apologize. She didn't cry. She just turned and walked out of the room, leaving behind a silence so thick I could barely breathe through it. I stood up, holding my belly, and told everyone the party was over. Then I locked myself in my old childhood bedroom and stared at the ceiling fan until it got dark. I didn't call Josh. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just lay there, numb, as my baby kicked softly against my ribs like even she was trying to comfort me. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in my childhood bed, staring at the pale glow of the street lamp outside the window, running the last 2 years of my life through my mind like a reel of film looking for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. Every time Josh kissed my forehead, every time Emily gave me a weird half-smile, every time one of them was busy when I needed them, it all started to twist into something ugly. At 6:12 the next morning, my phone buzzed. It was Josh. "Hey babe, heard the shower went great. Sorry I couldn't make it. Want me to pick up breakfast?" I stared at the message for what felt like a full hour. I didn't reply. I didn't have the words. I couldn't decide what was worse, that he thought I didn't know, or that he didn't think I ever would. I got up, showered, packed a small bag, and drove back to our apartment like I was walking into someone else's life. He was still in bed when I got home, shirtless, smiling like it was any other morning. I stood at the foot of the bed, watching him sleep, wondering how many times he had kissed her with the same mouth that whispered forever to me. When he woke up, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just handed him the sonogram. He blinked, then blinked again, then sat up slowly, like his body was trying to delay what his mind already knew was coming. "Where did you get this?" he asked, as if that was the most important question. "Emily gave it to me," I said. "At my baby shower." The silence that followed was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Not guilt, not denial. Just resignation, like he'd been waiting for this shoe to drop. "How long?" I finally asked. "Since the night of our engagement party," he whispered. "We were both drunk. I didn't mean for it to happen again, but..." I held up a hand. Don't give me the "it just happened" speech. I'm not interested in rewrites." She told me she was on birth control. I didn't know she kept it. I almost laughed. "Almost. So let me get this straight. You got my sister pregnant, let her attend every milestone of this pregnancy with me, stood beside her at ultrasounds and family dinners, and you both just said nothing?" "We didn't know how," he mumbled. "There's no good way to say something like that." "Then maybe," I said, my voice steady despite the fire building in my chest, "you shouldn't have done it." He tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. My belly was between us, round and full and innocent in all this. "I need you to leave," I said. "Today. Lila. Number, you don't get to be here. You don't get to choose comfort now." He stood up, walked toward the closet, and for a moment I thought maybe he'd fight harder. Maybe he'd beg or scream or cry, but he didn't. He just packed quietly, like this was the end of a long movie and he knew the credits were already rolling. He left an hour later. Didn't even take everything. Just the basics. I didn't ask where he was going. I didn't care. I sat on the couch for the rest of the day, feeling the baby move, wondering what kind of story I would tell her when she asked why her dad wasn't around. That night, I called Emily. She didn't answer. Of course not. But she didn't block me either, which meant she was still waiting. Waiting for what? Forgiveness? A fight? Pity? I sent her one message. "I know everything. I hope it was worth it." She read it but never responded. Instead, the next day, my mom called. "Emily's moving out," she said. "She's going to stay with a friend for a while." "Good," I replied. "She's not welcome here." "She says she didn't do it to hurt you," my mom added. "She says she was just lost." "Yeah," I said, my voice flat. "Well, she found something, and now she has to live with it." For the next week, I cried in private and smiled in public. I kept going to doctor appointments. I decorated the nursery. I cut Josh's name off the wall art I had custom ordered and threw it in the trash. I was alone, but I wasn't broken. Not completely. Not yet. Because deep down I was already planning something, not for revenge, but for truth. Because if they weren't going to say it out loud, I was going to make sure everyone else knew. And not with drama, not with rage, just with the facts. A week after Josh moved out and Emily vanished into whatever corner she thought could hide her shame, I walked into our lawyer's office and started the process of legal separation. I didn't want to wait for birth. I didn't want to delay healing until things settled. I needed the paper trail to reflect what my life had already become, me and my baby, alone but not abandoned. I also asked for full custody in advance. My lawyer said it was aggressive. I said it was necessary. I wanted it in writing that Josh had chosen someone else's womb before he even knew how to hold mine with care. But this isn't a story about custody battles. This is about the moment everything shifted. Because 3 weeks before I gave birth, I did something small but unforgettable. I mailed out thank you cards to everyone who came to the baby shower. Even the ones who had stayed awkwardly silent after Emily's little performance. I wrote each card by hand. Simple, grateful, polite. But in Emily's card, I added something extra. A photo. Not of my baby's ultrasound. Not of some dramatic quote or broken-hearted poem. Just a copy of the same sonogram she had given me, but this time, I had circled Josh's name in red ink. And underneath, I had written just 6 words. You gave me a gift, so here's one back. No threats, no closure, just a mirror, a clean, calm mirror. She never replied. But I know she got it, because a week later, I got a message from an unknown number. Just one line. Was it worth it? No name, no signature. But I knew it was her, and I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Some things echo louder in silence. Josh tried to come back once, about 2 months after the baby was born. He asked to talk, said he missed his family. I met him in a cafe, brought the baby in her car seat and listened. He cried. Told me Emily moved out of state, said she kept the baby. Said he barely sees her, said he regrets everything. I looked him in the eye and asked, do you regret cheating, or do you regret being caught? He didn't answer, just stared at our daughter, asleep and peaceful, unaware that the man who created her had already burned half the bridge between them. I told him he could be involved as long as it was documented. No more surprise visits, no more family dinners. He could apply for visitation. He nodded, but I knew he wouldn't, and he didn't, because men like Josh don't do paperwork, they do damage. Then disappear. My daughter is 1 now. She's learning to walk, and every time she falls and gets back up, I see myself. Not the me who was blindsided, the me who rebuilt, the one who turned betrayal into backbone. People always ask if I ever forgave Emily, and the truth is I don't think forgiveness is always the goal. Sometimes, you don't need to forgive to move on. You just need to release. Release the fantasy that they'll apologize. Release the dream that they'll ever hurt the way you did. Release the version of yourself that needed their love to feel whole. I released her. I released him. And in the space they left behind, I found something I didn't expect. Peace. Not loud, triumphant peace. Quiet, steady peace. The kind that tucks your baby into bed without bitterness. The kind that smiles at your reflection and says, you made it. You really made it. So if you're listening to this wondering how to survive betrayal that cuts from blood and bone, know this. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to get revenge to win. Sometimes, the best ending is no ending at all, just you. Standing there, still whole, still breathing, still rising.